Varich sir, good morning. Hello. Varich sir, your voice is not coming. You are not audible.
Good morning, sir.
Good morning, sir, to all. Achay, sir, am I audible now?
Now you are audible.
Now you are audible. Okay. So, okay, start. Now it's audible.
Hello. Good morning, one and all. This is Dr. Prashant Kumar Parikh. Welcome you all on the day 2 program of this 3-day online program on child-centric disaster risk reduction with joint collaboration of Department of Education, Rajiv Gandhi University and National Institute of Disaster Management, New Delhi. And I am glad to inform you that today we have with us 2 eminent speakers for the program. For the first session, we have with us Miss Namrata from New Delhi, and her topic for discussion is mental health of children in the time of disaster. And for the second session, we have with us Dr. Balu from National Institute of Disaster Management, New Delhi. And his topic is about introduction to child-centric disaster risk reduction. Friends, in order to moderate the session, now I may invite Dr. Nishant PM, Assistant Professor, Department of Education. Over to Nishant sir. Now you can moderate the session. And we have with us Namrata madam. I may welcome Namrata madam also to our...
Thank you, sir. Thank you so much.
Welcome, ma'am. And now I am handing over the charges to Dr. Nishant to moderate the session. Thank you.
Thank you, Parikh sir. And dear participants, a very warm good morning all. And today, as we have 2 sessions from 11 to 12, we have the first session. It will be handled by Ms. Namrata, YWCA New Delhi. And after that, we have second session from 12 to 1. It will be handled by Dr. Balu. So the first session we start at right now. And for introducing the speaker, may I request Mr. Sushant Kumar Nayak to introduce the first speaker. Over to you, sir.
Thank you, Nishan sir. Now I formally will introduce our resource person, Ms. Namrata Sharma, and she is a renowned counseling psychologist by profession, and she completed her master degree from Delhi University in applied psychology with specialization in clinical psychology, and also she has a diploma in guidance and counseling from National Council of Educational Research and Training, and she has a years of experience in counseling with children, teenagers, young adults in schools, and also she has worked with various socio-economical ground sections also. Currently, she is working for YMCA of Delhi at the post of counselor, where she provides counseling services to women in shelter homes from various sectors of society dealing with mild to severe psychological and psychosocial problems. She also interacts with the Girls of Women's Training Institute, which is run by YMCA of Delhi, and provide the young girls with personal as well as group counseling sessions and occasional workshops on psycho-educational topics such as prevention of sexual harassment, life skills, domestic violence, etc. So in this session, she will highlight the mental health of children in the time of disaster. So we expect a very fruitful session from you, ma'am. So I formally invite you for our session, Ms. Namrata Sharma, ma'am. Thank you.
Thank you, Sushant ji, for welcoming me.
Madam,
I just,
have a
yeah.
quick second before starting the program.
Sorry?
Can I have a quick second before starting?
Yes, sir. Sure, sure.
Dear participants, you are requested to mute your mic for the entire this talk during this program. And the madam will be talking about 55 minutes. And the last 5 minutes, we can go for Q&A. I mean, if you have any questions or any clarifications, you can drop your concern in the chat box. So I can read out for you. Please, ma'am.
Thank you, sir. So just before I start, sir, can you tell me whether I should be bilingual or everyone is comfortable with English? Should I purely talk in English or can I do mix and match also?
You can talk in English, and if a participant have any doubts regarding anything, then you can very well use Hindi as well.
Great. Okay, so I think we can start. I will just share my screen. And in case any of you find any issues with my audio, you can put it in the chat box. I will be able to see your messages. So now hopefully you can see my screen.
Yeah, it's visible.
Great. Day or two of training, and hopefully you all have enjoyed the first day sessions. Today, as both the sirs mentioned, I am going to talk about mental health issues in children during a disaster situation. And all of us know that currently when we talk about disaster, we are talking about Corona, COVID-19, and we call it a pandemic, but it is basically a disaster on a larger scale, right? And so before we begin, okay, just let me shift this. Okay. So before we begin, I would like to start by talking about some preventive measures, and this is basically because we are working with the government organization, and we are expected to inform everyone koi chhoot na jaye basically. So obviously we all know this, but it's important कि मैं बार-बार आप सबको याद दिलाऊं that it is important to wear a mask. And when I talk about wearing a mask, it does not mean कि आप उसको गले में टांगे घूम रहे हैं, कान पे टांगे घूम रहे हैं. It means it should be covering your nose and your mouth, because the COVID virus goes through the nose and the mouth. Then you should wash your hands with soap and water all the time, because soap and water is basically the best hygienic way to keep yourself clean. Avoid touching your eyes, nose and mouth. And the biggest trick here is that if you are coming from outside, first you wash your hands and then you take off your mask. Because most of us, what we do, we just want to get rid of the mask and we first take off the mask, and tab tak wo virus hamare muh pe lag chuka hota hai and we get busy. Also, I would request to sanitize your phones every time, because when we are outside, whatever we touch, it comes onto our phone. So when you enter the home, try to sanitize your phone by taking some alcohol or sanitizer in your hand and rubbing it on your phone. It will not damage any part of your phone. Keep social distancing. When I say keep social distancing, it's kind of impossible nowadays, looking at the current population and the way they're moving outside their homes. But you can do that in your offices. You can do that in metros, and you cannot keep 6 feet, I'm sure, but at least you can maintain a distance where you will not catch the virus from another person. And finally, keep surfaces clean. All the people who are going to their offices and they have people coming into their workplace constantly should sanitize their table, anything, the door handle, anything another person touches, so that you are safe in your office as well. And I would just like to warn you that maybe in between my Wi-Fi might fluctuate. So if I lose contact, sir will take over and then I will join again. I hope that doesn't happen. And now that brings me to the part of my presentation, which is COVID-19 mental health issues in children. And as sir mentioned, I am a counseling psychologist, so my view on this COVID-19 disaster pandemic situation is going to be purely psychological. मैं आज सिर्फ और सिर्फ साइकोलॉजी बेस्ड बातें करूंगी, जो कि हम अपने मानसिक स्वास्थ्य के बारे में कुछ बातें करेंगे. डेफिनेटली यहाँ पे कुछ बातें ऐसी होंगी, देयर विल बी सम थिंग्स दैट आई विल बी टॉकिंग अबाउट व्हिच विल बी एप्लीकेबल टू any age group, which there may be adults, children, whoever, but my focus is primarily going to be on children, because we are discussing child-centric disaster risk reduction, and this department was primarily formed because they wanted to work with children, work for children. So yeah, just 1 second. Yeah, so I want to talk about first the basic concepts, and the very first thing we should talk about is childhood. Now, for me personally, I will talk about later, but according to science, according to psychology, the bookish definition of childhood period is when a human lifespan ranges from between infancy to adolescence. So in infancy, a child is approximately 1 to 2 years old, and a person who is an adolescent can be said to be between 12 to 13. So adolescent is the teenage years. So as soon as we step into 13, and then it goes on to 14, 15, 16, 17, 18. So the adolescent period lasts till 18. And again, I strongly believe that when we grow old, and when we move from an infancy to toddler period, then from a toddler to a child period, then child to adolescence, adolescence to adult, it is not something that happens overnight. It is a process, and every development that happens in the human body is something that happens at a slow pace. So आप ये नहीं कह सकते कि मैं कल रात को इन्फेंट था और आज सुबह उठ के मैं टॉडलर बन गया. जी हाँ, एज चेंज होती है, द एज चेंजेस, बट द वे अ पर्सन इवॉल्व्स is different for every individual, because we have individual differences, we have been brought up in different ways, we were born in different families, therefore everything that is happening going on inside us happens at a different pace. So what I'm trying to say here is that childhood period can be different for every individual, but according to the bookish knowledge, it is from 1 to 13 years. आप कह सकते हैं कि कोई बच्चे की जो innocence है, कुछ लोगों की वो 18 years तक भी चलती है. They cannot be viewed as an adolescent. So it is basically your judgment कि आप childhood period किसे consider करते हैं, but scientifically it is from 1 to 13 years. And during this childhood period, mental health plays a huge role. So all of us see things that are changing physically in children, and these children show us physical changes such as growing in height, and lifting things, developing a pincer grip, using different parts of their body. But what about the mental health? Mental health is also developing, and it can be viewed in different ways, such as learning healthy social skills or how to cope when there is a problem. And how we view mental health in children, I will be talking that a little further. So before we move on to the mental health part, let me just elaborate a little more on the periods of childhood. And the first period of childhood is infancy and toddlerhood, like I was just saying. And you can see in this first image here. So I believe some people can actually visualize. So when we study psychology, we always relate to real life examples, because it is something that we are talking about ourselves. And like I said, हम सबके experiences अलग रहे हैं. तो कोई कॉन्सेप्ट में जो यहाँ पे बात कर रही हूँ, बेटा वो कॉन्सेप्ट आई एम टॉकिंग अबाउट मे बी may have happened with everyone, but वो अपने अपने लाइफ से लोग कनेक्ट करते हैं. So infancy and toddlerhood ranges from birth to 2 years, and during this period the body and the brain go through dramatic changes. How? Definitely एक बच्चा जब एक पैदा होता है, उसके बाद वो 2 साल तक का होता है, he learns to get up, or he learns to sit, he learns to eat, he learns to chew, उसके शायद दांत आ जाते हैं, वो चलना भी शुरू हो जाता है. So these are some body changes. And in the brain, when we are born, all of us know we are born with neurons. So neurons are the cells that are existing in our brain, and the neuronal connectivity that happens over the years defines how our learning goes. So, for example, today I learn how to peel a banana, and that will be stored in one of my neurons, and the neurons will connect. So these connections will stay with me forever. एंड मैं जब भी एक बनाना को पील करूंगी या मुझे एक बनाना दिखेगा तो मेरे उस न्यूरॉन में जाके वो जो इन्फॉर्मेशन स्टोर्ड है वो वहां से निकल के आएगी, एंड इट विल टेल मी दैट यू हैव टू पील द बनाना एंड देन ईट इट. So these learnings and brain changes in the brain happen during the first period. Definitely it is a continuous process, but it is dramatic in the first stage. Then there is a second period which is called the early childhood, and that ranges from the age of 2 to 6 years. आप second image में देख सकते हैं यहाँ, you can see the second photo. So here the child is approximately 3 to 4 years old, and children till the age of 6 start going to schools. They are in kindergarten, nursery, and even in class 1. So these children have now learned to be more self-controlled and self-sufficient. Now the child is stepping out of the four walls. वो अपने घर से बाहर निकलता है. पहले 24/7 उसके caretaker, उसके parents उसके साथ होते थे. But now for a few hours he is stepping out in the real world. So here he needs to know how to act, how to be independent, and अगर उसको वॉशरूम जाना है he needs to ask. वरना घर पे होते थे तो मम्मी पापा देख लेते थे, they used to clean you up. So having self-control, being more disciplined when you are sitting in the classroom, these are the changes that happen during this period. And of course when you meet new people, there is a expansion in your language and the sense of morality. So you become more evident and established ties with peers. आपके दोस्त बनते हैं, आपको अपने पेरेंट्स से थोड़ा डिस्टेंस होना अच्छा लगने लगता है. So that brings us to the third period, which is the middle childhood, and that ranges from 6 to 11 years. Just let me know if I'm moving a little fast, because I feel like I am. Okay, let me see what are there in the comments. Okay, so a child who is from age 6 to 11 years is pretty much an old kid. So यहाँ पे बच्चा स्कूल भी जा रहा है, उसने clearly बाहर की चीजें सीखी है, and the fact that now he's gaining some sort of formal education indicates that he knows much more about the wider world. So the distance between the parents starts to increase, friends पे ज़्यादा interest आने लगता है, and new responsibilities सीखते हैं. Responsibilities about your school work, about your friends, about your parents. Yeah, you start getting daily chores and responsibilities. Maybe if you're being given pocket money, then you will be knowing how to handle that money, right? So all these things happen during the middle childhood period. So now that we have discussed about the middle childhood period, we will talk about these in a disaster situation. हमें पता चल गया है कि बच्चे क्या होते हैं, कौन सी एज से कौन सी एज तक, what are the changes that happen, how is mental health relevant for in case of children. Like everybody thinks that mental health, when we talk about mental health, it is about depression, stress, anxiety, or being happy, being optimistic. But you know, there is much more to mental health, especially in children, because it is an ignored topic. कि mental health का क्या significance है children में? No, it's not important, blah blah blah. But it is. So estimates of prevalence of trauma in world population is projected to be between 33% to 90%, and it is higher in children. In a summarized version, I would say that when a disaster strikes and the trauma that is prevalent in any person who has been in that situation ranges from 33% to 90%. जब एक disaster होता है उसमें जिस तरीके का trauma लोगों को होता है वो 33 to 90% लोगों में पाया जाता है, and it has been observed that it is higher in children. And this is something we clearly ignore. Whenever there is a difficult situation in the house, हमें लगता है the adults are responsible for it. And now I will be getting deeper into the fact that why children have mental health issues, and especially during a pandemic. These symptoms I will be talking about a little in detail, so I will not be mentioning them over here. So like I was saying, children are always ignored when we talk about stress, when we talk about trauma. And जब भी, for example, family में कोई death हो गई या फिर family में कोई बहुत बड़ा loss हो गया, or we are going through a pandemic situation, it is always ignored, and people say बच्चों की life तो बहुत आसान है, And what kind of stress do children have? Children don't have any stress. All they have to do is play, study, and sleep. All they have to do is that. But that is not true. Children face a lot of stress. In fact, it probably may be higher than adults. And here I will be talking about two reasons why children might be experiencing more stress than adults. And the first reason for that is that they are exposed to new and confusing environments every day, constantly. So I will explain it with an example. For example, I am a child and I do not know. We all have seen in our families or in our distant relatives कि अगर कोई बच्चा होता है and he is a small kid, he does not know what is fire, what is electricity. He will just go and put his finger in the electricity socket if somebody is not watching, and he will probably get a shock. So why did the child get a shock? Because he did not know what is going to happen next. This was a first time experience in his life. He had seen that thing for the first time, and he did not know. So he did not have the knowledge, so he could not save himself from the bad consequences. And this happens on a daily basis when you are growing up. Why? Because when a child is born, he's like a blank book. So in psychology we use a term called tabula rasa, and that basically means a blank slate, khali takhti hoti hai, an empty blackboard. A child is like that. So as and when he gains experiences, he learns his, they say we learn from our failures. So similarly, if I were to use this situation in an adult, in adult, we can say that, for example, I have a meeting and I have been expected to make a presentation because it is a very important meeting. My boss has given me a day of one day time, but when I go home, I completely forget to make the presentation and I go to sleep. The next day when I wake up, I'm in the cab. I only have 5 minutes left to reach the office. I realized that I did not make my presentation, and today I will. As a result, I will maybe, my boss will fire me or give me a warning letter. So I know what are going to be the consequences of my actions, but this does not happen in a child. That's why they are always confused, and they go through a lot of stress because of the new situations. The second reason why a child might feel more stressed than an adult is the expectations from the society. Expectation from the parents, तुम्हें ये बनना है, तुम्हें वो बनना है, ऐसे बैठो, ये करो, वो करो. Expectation from teachers, you have to finish your homework. From peers, you should be like this because you are a part of our group. Expectation from yourself, that I want to be like this, but the societies. So all these things also cause a lot of stress in the child, and they kind of disturb the child's concept of self-worth or self-confidence. It kind of shatters here if the child is not raised correctly. So now that we are talking about stress, let's talk about two kinds of stresses. We all know that there are two stresses that are one stress that is bad. Stress को हमेशा एक बुरे concept की तरह जाना गया है, बात की जाती है, but there is also a good kind of stress which is called U stress. And U stress basically happens when we are about to go to give an exam, we are about to sit in an exam, we are about to perform on the stage. So if you recall, whenever you were expected to go on a stage or do a solo performance, or just perform anywhere in a meeting, in a presentation, you would start sweating. You would maybe your breath starts to speeden up. You feel a little panicky. That is called U stress. And U stress is good because it motivates you to do well. Now, if I have an exam tomorrow or in a few days and I'm not stressed about it, do you think I will work towards it? No. So if I am stressed about my exam and I start working on it, it means it is motivating me to perform well, to practice, to work on it. Therefore, a stress that motivates you to do an activity is called a U stress. But if it is hampering, if it is disturbing your daily functioning, then that becomes a bad stress. And I will be talking about three basic kinds of stresses that we face in a daily, day-to-day basis. And okay, Is someone talking? Okay. There are three kinds of stresses that we face in our day-to-day functions. So, like I mentioned that here I will be talking about some concepts that are applicable universally. वो एक सिर्फ बच्चे के लिए लागू नहीं होता है, वो adult पे भी हो सकता है. So you can connect better. But the thing is, we need to talk about these basic concepts because we will be using them very commonly in our further slides. So the first kind of stress is called the basic stress. And this happens to us in a day-to-day situation because whenever we are facing a difficult situation, we probably have basic stress, and this kind of stress is easy to overcome because if we make some physical or psychological adjustments, we will be able to beat the stress. And so a very simple example will be that I have a party in a few days, so I have to go shopping to the grocery store, but I'm very stressed about it because I have still not bought a lot of stuff. So I have to make time. Now I am stressed that the party is going to happen, but so that is a basic stress. But if I plan my day according to myself, according to my daily schedule, then I will be able to find time between my office hours and maybe during lunchtime I will go and shop for the materials that I need for the party. So I make some physical changes, I move things around, I psychologically decide that today I have to shop, and therefore I go to the store, I buy stuff and release my basic stress, and now I'm completely relaxed. So this is a good thing about basic stress. Now, if I have taking the same example, moving on to the second kind of stress, that is cumulative. Cumulative stress basically means when a basic stress starts to accumulate. तो जैसे हम कपड़े नहीं धोते हैं और हम काफी दिन तक वो कपड़े पड़े रहते हैं, and they start to accumulate and they make a pile. So we are not working on that pile of clothes and therefore it starts to get accumulated. उसी तरीके से अगर हम basic stress पे काम नहीं करेंगे, if we are not doing anything to relieve that basic stress, it will start to accumulate and become cumulative stress. And the bad part about cumulative stress is that even after some time, if you make some psychological or physical adjustments, it will not go away. And the longer you delay this stress, the longer and the more difficult it will be to overcome or make by making any adjustments. So if I'm not going, if I'm not finding time from my office, or if I'm not making any changes in my schedule to go shop for the party, the stress will constantly accumulate, and by the end of the day or by the end of the week, my party will not happen, which will cause a lot of cumulative stress. The third type of stress is called burnout. And burnout usually हम सुनते हैं लोगों के मुंह से जब हम ऑफिस के बारे में बात करते हैं. Oh my God, I've been working for so many years. I think I've hit burnout now. But burnout can happen to anyone. It can happen to a student. It can happen to a housewife, a person who works continuously by ignoring their emotional and physical needs and get exhausted. तो अगर आप एक excessive and prolonged period के साथ के दौरान आप ये स्ट्रेस झेल रहे हैं, अपने आप को वक्त नहीं दे रहे हैं, सेल्फ केयर नहीं कर रहे हैं, then there is a possibility that you will face a burnout level, and this is usually work related. So that can be housework, it can be education, it can be office work, but it causes some sort of depression at work where you are no more capable of functioning because of the exhaustion. Now these three were some common day-to-day kinds of stresses, but there are two more traumatic stresses जो कि हम usually disaster situations में देखते हैं, and panic stage होता है. तो हम कोविड के 19 के एग्जाम्पल को लेके ये चीज डिस्कस करते हैं. So first traumatic stress होता है critical incident stress. Critical incident stress results from exposure to a critical incident, and here I would like to I would request you all to focus on the yellow words that are the highlighted words, because मैं जो example दूंगी मैं इन्हीं को use करके दूंगी. At the end of the session you will be getting my presentation, तो आप इसको पढ़ सकते हैं, but right now it is important कि आप उसको conceptualize करें, उसको understand करें. So critical, like So I will explain it with the example that in January, we were all very relaxed. 2020 आया, it was a unique year, and we all thought that probably it will be a good year. We made our New Year resolutions, हम planning कर रहे थे, offices were making their financial plans and everything. People were planning to get married maybe. So we were all functioning very smoothly in our day-to-day life. But suddenly in March, we were told that आपको घर में लॉकडाउन हो जाना है. So here you can focus on the two words sudden and disruptive. तो हम अपनी जिंदगी में आसानी से चल रहे थे, we were functioning very smoothly, and suddenly we were told we have to go under lockdown. Jobs will be closed, education closed, no exams, no parties, no shadis, no going out. So this was very sudden and disruptive. Then slowly news में आना शुरू हुआ कि COVID-19 के cases हैं and इसकी वजह से people are dying. So the situation got threatening. Again, this word you can see here, threatening, disrupting both sense of being in control and fundamental perceptions of one's environment as safe and predictable. And then we got, slowly were told that the environment is no more safe for us, and we could not predict कि अब आगे क्या होगा, क्योंकि कब वैक्सीन आएगी, ये वायरस क्या है, लोगों को तो खबर भी नहीं थी. लोगों ने लिटरली इसको इतना वो ज़ॉम्बी टाइप का भी वायरस बना दिया था जब शुरू में ये इन्फॉर्मेशन आई थी, because we people didn't know much. And this caused a lot of stress. So this was one kind of traumatic stress which is called critical incident stress, जो कि हमारी जिंदगी आके अचानक से उजाड़ के चला गया. Has been a lot of loss of lives, loss of financial property, everything has been lost for people क्योंकि jobs नहीं है. I mean the entire economy of India, the world for that matter, went down. So but the thing is, हर इंसान का, जैसे मैंने मेंशन किया था कि ये रिएक्शन टाइम डिफरेंट होता है क्योंकि हम सब अलग हैं. सो द स्ट्रेस दैट केम आउट वाज मे बी इमीडिएट फॉर सम पीपल. सो फॉर अ पर्सन हु इज द सोल अर्निंग मेंबर ऑफ द फैमिली, उसके लिए ये स्ट्रेस इमीडिएटली हिट किया. बट फॉर अ पर्सन who's not that low on resources, उन्हें ये चीजें इतनी ज्यादा हिट नहीं की, हालांकि अब उन्हें वो चीज हिट कर रही होगी. एंड द थिंग यू हैव टू रिमेंबर इज, जब भी क्रिटिकल इंसिडेंट स्ट्रेस होता है तो उसका रिएक्शन बिल्कुल नॉर्मल है. वी ऑल आर ह्यूमंस, वी नीड टू take out our negative emotions. That does not mean that we are weak. It just means that हमारी लाइफ में कभी पॉजिटिव इमोशंस भी आते हैं और कभी नेगेटिव इमोशंस भी आते हैं. And then that brings me to the second type of traumatic stress, which is called secondary traumatization. And secondary traumatization is a state of exhaustion and dysfunction. It's biologically, psychologically and socially. तो यहाँ क्या होता है कि basically वो emergency workers जो इन दुर्घटनाग्रस्त लोगों के साथ काम करते हैं, people who've been stuck in disaster, have been struck by a disaster, उन लोगों के साथ. तो अगर जैसे कहीं earthquake आया, there have been floods, and taking the COVID-19 situation, people who have been working in hospitals, those people usually go through secondary traumatization. Like the doctors, they have not been able to give time to themselves, they have not been able to go home. वो सारा दिन वो पीपी किट्स पहन के उसमें पसीना आ रहा है, seeing so many people die, there are no places to bury people, and the doctors are constantly under stress because अभी वो हाल हो गया है कि per doctor there must be thousands of patients. So the doctors are less, the patients are more, and it is extremely difficult for doctors, nurses, housekeeping staff, counselors, psychologists to handle this situation. तो जब आप ज्यादा समय ऐसे लोगों के साथ गुजारते हैं, सेकेंडरी ट्रॉमेटाइजेशन होना आम बात है. एंड नाउ कमिंग टू द मेन पार्ट ऑफ माय प्रेजेंटेशन, अभी जो भी हमने सीखा दैट वाज थ्योरेटिकल नॉलेज, एंड नाउ लेट्स टॉक अबाउट द एक्चुअल मेंटल हेल्थ इश्यूज. So the first thing I want to talk about is, जैसे हम एक बीमारी के बारे में अगर बात, I'm not saying एक बीमारी है, but just an example, when we talk about an illness, we first talk about the reason behind कि exactly हुआ क्या था, कि what happened exactly that gave rise to these symptoms or this illness. So that's what I'm going to talk about, and I want to share what COVID-19 lockdown did to our kids. What was its impact? Because as soon as the COVID-19 lockdown was initiated, we went into our homes, but उसके बाद क्या हुआ, उसका क्या असर पड़ा हमारे बच्चों पे? So the first thing that happened was during the lockdown, the children had lack of no interaction at all, lack of social interaction basically, and social interaction is a very important part for children because it helps in the physical, the social, the language development of a child. और अगर बच्चा interact नहीं करेगा तो वो जिंदगी के concepts नहीं सीखेगा. He will not learn the new things about his life. He's still developing. As adults, we have grown and we have come out of that stage, but for children it is very important. So that was taken away from our kids during the lockdown. The second thing that happened was the lack of physical activity. Now again, physical activity is very important. In fact, I would say कि जितना mental health important होता है, इससे थोड़ा सा ज़्यादा physical activity important होती है, because like I did a thesis during my masters, and there we realized that my results were that physical activity की वजह से the levels of depression, anxiety go down, and the happiness levels or the optimism levels, hope, they all go up. And this is basically a physical phenomenon. And when we work out, अगर आप अपनी day to day life में imagine करें, तो आप जब exercise करके आते हैं, gym करके आते हैं, you feel very happy, you feel very chirpy. And the reason behind that is कि जब भी हमारी body कोई भी physical activity करती है, our brain secretes a hormone called serotonin, and serotonin is also called a happy hormone. So this happy hormone just elevates our mood और हमको खुश करने में help करता है. तो physical activity का role इतना important है, अगर हमारे mood में है तो just imagine its significance in the growth of a child. So again, जब COVID-19 lockdown हुआ तो वो भी बच्चों से ले लिया गया. Then there was lack of cognitive stimulation. Cognitive stimulation में क्या होता है, हमारे जो भी माइंड के फंक्शंस होते हैं वो cognitions में आते हैं. So it can be attention, learning, memory, concentration, everything. Okay. And again, हमारे schools बंद हो गए तो बच्चों की cognitive stimulation भी कम हो गई. Now parents would say that हमारा बच्चा तो घर में पढ़ता है 1 घंटा, but do you really think that 1 hour of education is equal to what our child used to learn in schools? I don't think so. And cognitive stimulation is different because from home to school. Why? Because when a child used to go to school, उसे पता था कि मुझे आज यहाँ पे 5 या 6 घंटे लगातार पढ़ाई करनी है, तो वो mental state ऐसा बन जाता था बच्चे का that yes, I have to work for this study for this time, then I will go home, I will rest, and then I will play. So this routine was set. However, at home there is no specific time to study, there is no dedication. And again, यहाँ एक बहुत बड़ा issue आ रहा है online classes. Online classes have also impacted the child a lot. Definitely it is not even equal, not even close to what face-to-face learning is. But obviously these are difficult times, and we have to just go along with what is happening. क्योंकि अगर हम ऐसा नहीं करेंगे तो हमारे बच्चे पीछे रह जाएंगे. And time keeps going on. The only thing is that we have to evolve according to it, because time will not stop for us, right? The fourth thing that happened was the lack of external exposure. So बच्चों को parks नहीं जाया जा रहा था, extra curricular activities नहीं हो रही थी. All in all, आपका जो बच्चा है वो basically एक जेल में बंद हो गया because of the lockdown, and उससे ये सारी चीजें छीन ली गई. These things were taken away, and just imagine, these are some things that are very obvious. Imagine how much the child lost during this 1 year, and उसका उनके mental health पे क्या असर पड़ा. Comparing a child who has grown in an open environment as compared to that child who has grown in a COVID-19 बच्चे का पर्सनालिटी बिल्कुल खुल के आती है, अलग होती है. However, those children who are stuck in their homes during COVID-19, have faced a lot more consequences, and that might cause some mental health issues in them. Now, I have talked about four very obvious things, but I would also like to talk about some four hidden things, hidden facts, and that includes a lot of familial disputes. So during lockdown, पेरेंट्स वर फ्रस्ट्रेटेड, मदर्स आर कंसर्न कि मेरे बच्चे की एजुकेशन नहीं हो रही है, शायद मदर की जॉब जाने वाली है, फादर इज डिस्टर्ब्ड अबाउट द how the income will happen in the home, and there is a lot of irritation and frustration due to which familial disputes tend to happen and might lead to physical abuse and domestic violence. So I have a question for you all. I hope you all are listening, and that is going to come in my next point. So domestic violence happened all over the world. And according to WHO, 1 out of 3 women globally were facing domestic violence. There were a lot of studies. I am working in a women's organization, and I have made videos and I have researched a lot. I work with females who go through a lot of domestic violence issues. So the cases rose to a great extent, and the reason behind that was irritation, frustration. घर में कोई तो चाहिए ना, मतलब constantly आप रह रहे हो साथ में, कोई social interaction नहीं है. And domestic violence does not just happen with women. This is a disclaimer. Domestic violence can happen with a man, with the child of the house, with the grandparents, with the dog of the house. According to the law, domestic violence means that violence that is happening under one roof, that is called domestic violence. And the more profound impact that happened was sexual abuse. And my question here to you all is that, what, according to you all, where do you think sexual abuse happens the most and then to the least? I will give you 3 options: at home, in schools, or outside. You need to tell me where it happens the most, where are the chances of getting sexually abused by children. Where do children get more sexually abused? And you need to go in descending order. तो सबसे ज्यादा बताएंगे आप मुझे कहाँ पे chances होते हैं बच्चे के rape या abuse होने के, फिर कम. So let's see in the comment section. I will take just 1 minute because time is also running out. Let's see. Okay, Rita Taki says it happens at home. Okay, and Sabitul says it happens at school. Vishal, home. Biswajit says home. Lige says outside. Sakshi, home. Kishore Kumar at school. Srishti, home, school, then external. Okay. Smriti says home. Obang says outside. Okay. Havojit outside. Yapi at home. Kishore Kumarji outside too. Devashish, home. Monica, home. Shobha outside. Okay. So wonderful. Ruby says ascending order, home, neighborhood, school. Okay, home, outside. Wonderful. So basically, I have a very interactive audience. सब मुझे बहुत ध्यान से सुन रहे हैं, and that makes me very happy. So yes, most of you were correct. And I'm not saying this by experience. I am saying this by experience, but researchers talk a lot. They say a lot. So according to researchers, sexual abuse happens very commonly at home, then at schools, and then outside. So why I say this is क्योंकि लॉकडाउन हुआ, सब अपनी अपनी फैमिलीज में वापस गए, एंड यहाँ मैं किसी भी सोशियो इकोनॉमिक बैकग्राउंड या स्टेटस पे फोकस नहीं कर रही हूँ. आई एम टॉकिंग अबाउट द रिच, द मिडिल, द पुअर, एवरीवन. People went back to their hometowns. Maybe joint families got together because they were supposed to stay at home. They were supposed to stay safe under quarantine. And the child was completely, in the open. पेरेंट्स कितना बच्चों के साथ रहेंगे ना, अब या तो बच्चा कभी तो जाएगा अपने बड़े कजिन्स, अपने अंकल्स, आंट्स, ग्रैंड पेरेंट्स, इन सब के साथ खेलने वेलने, एंड दैट्स द टाइम व्हेन द चाइल्ड इज मोस्ट वल्नरेबल, and a lot of cases happened, and these researchers only talk about the cases that were reported. वो cases के बारे में तो बात हुई ही नहीं जो कि report नहीं हुए. By experience, I am telling you that I have had clients from the age of 10 to 21, and boys who have faced sexual abuse or rape by their parents, also by their mothers, fathers, siblings, grandparents. So it is a shocking world, and it is happening all around us, but specifically during lockdown, the cases went really high. And of course, you can see in the news what is happening. So it's kind of disturbing. Now, let's move to the next part of my presentation. And before that, I want to talk about this diagram, which is called the cognitive triangle. It has three components, which is thoughts, behaviors, and emotions. And these three components basically define what us as human beings, how we interact with the external world. So जब भी हम किसी से बात करते हैं या किसी चीज पे रिएक्ट करते हैं या कुछ फील करते हैं, वो तीनों चीजें इस कॉग्निटिव ट्रायंगल में आती हैं. And as you see the arrows, they are pointing towards both sides. Because this diagram is not one directional, it can go in any direction because all three components are interconnected, interdependent on each other and interrelated. So again, I'll explain with an example. मैं सुबह उठी, in the morning I woke up, I was in a wonderful mood. So therefore my emotions were very positive. Okay, maybe मैं रात को time से सोई, I had a very cozy sleep and मैं रात को meditation की, that's why I woke up in a very good mood and my emotions were very positive. Then I went on to do my daily chores, my work, and I decided that maybe I have a test coming up in a few days, so I should start preparing for my test. And in my mind, I decided that today I will finish a chunk of my syllabus because that will help me for my further practice. So my thoughts were very positive. Because my mood was positive, my thoughts were simultaneously moving positively. And as a result, I made my plan, I made my day's schedule, and I conducted my entire activities by sitting down on the table. I studied, I finished that syllabus. So that reflected in my behavior, which shows my behavior was also positive. So what I'm trying to explain here is that everything that we do in our day-to-day life, now you can apply this on any situation. Sometimes we start missing someone. So maybe I lost somebody recently and I have been having very negative thoughts. So my thoughts are negative and as a result I start crying. So my emotions become negative. Okay, and because of that I'm not able to function properly. I'm not able to do my report writing in my office. So my behavior is also negative. So all I'm trying to say is that आप इसको किसी भी situation में apply करें, you will find that if one of the components is negative or positive, the other two will definitely follow because there is a level of congruency in between all three of them. And that brings me to the next part of my presentation, that is the effects. What now you will say कि मैम ने बता दिया impact क्या होता है, लेकिन अब बीमारी को पता लगाने के लिए ये भी तो देखना है ना कि हम वो identify कैसे करेंगे. How will we diagnose as parents, as caretakers, as teachers? How will I observe that there has been some sort of negative impact on my child because of the COVID, because of this disaster? And that can be done again in these three ways: by observing the emotions, by observing the cognitive functions, that is thoughts, and by observing the child's behavior. So how will I know that my child is having some mental health issues? And again I'm putting a disclaimer here to all the participants that मैं यहाँ पे जो भी symptoms बता रही हूँ, those are very commonly seen symptoms. There can be deeper symptoms as well, but unfortunately I cannot go in that much detail because psychology is very vast. So I have picked out those symptoms that are very commonly seen and that can be understood by you all. And it's not necessary कि आज मैं बता रही हूँ कि उदासी भी होता है, नेगेटिव इमोशन, तो आज यहाँ पे पेरेंट्स जाके अपने घर पे बोलें कि अच्छा मेरे बच्चे को तो ये चीज है तो शायद वो मेंटली इल है या उसको मेंटल हेल्थ इश्यूज है. देखो, you are a parent, you know how your child is, you know their personality, temperament type. So sometimes emotions or behaviors can be temporary, so you have to keep an eye out for your children. अगर वो चीज 2 हफ्ते 3 हफ्ते से ज्यादा चलती है या वो उसके डे टू डे फंक्शनिंग में डिस्टर्बेंस देती है, if it is disturbing the child's day to day functions, then you should go and consult a psychologist, a counselor. And I would recommend, if in Arunachal Pradesh there are any government hospitals, they would usually hire clinical psychologists who have RCI license. So R for rabbit, C for cat, I for ice cream. So RCI license is very important for a clinical psychologist, and this is provided to only those who do their MPhil and are completely equipped to diagnose these disorders. So I will again recommend कि इस particular presentation के basis पे आप अपने बच्चे को assess ना करें, because you are not equipped to do that. But you can probably keep an eye out for your children, and if you feel कि इसमें से कुछ भी मेरे बच्चे में ये emotion या ये behavior या ये cognition में दिक्कत हो रही है, तो आप एक better professional से बात कर सकते हैं. So I have 15 minutes left. 10 minutes actually, but I'll exceed probably. So fatafat se I will move along. Now, effects on children. The first effect can be through emotions. You can observe the child's emotions, and there the child might have anger outbursts. The child is yelling, hitting, breaking objects around the house. लोगों को मार रहा है, गाली गलौज कर रहा है, लड़ रहा है, घर के डॉगी को मार रहा है बहुत ज्यादा. तो उसमें उसका गुस्सा दिखाई देता है. Either the child might feel sad. There can be sadness in the emotion of the child. Irritability, frustration constantly, छोटी छोटी बात पे रो देना, crying spells होना, and fear of stepping out or interacting with others, feeling very very low during the entire day, and feeling the jealousy factor. So these are some emotions that might depict or show that the child is feeling a little mentally stressed. Then you can see behavioral changes, such as the child is being socially withdrawn. The child is feeling, separated from the family. वो पहले बच्चा हमेशा पेरेंट्स के बीच में बैठना पसंद करता था, but अब वो बिल्कुल separated रहता है. Then there might be lack of sleep or excessive sleep. बच्चा बहुत ज़्यादा सो रहा है या बहुत कम सो रहा है. Or there can be lack of appetite or increased appetite. Either he's eating too much or he's eating too less. So it can be because of stress eating also. And due to these change in sleeping and eating patterns, the child may, face some lack of energy, and that will make the child feel more lethargic during the entire day, and वो functioning नहीं हो पाएगी properly basically. Or the child may show some clingy behavior because he's trying to seek the attention of the parent, that please give me attention. I'm feeling stressed, I'm feeling negative. So you have to keep an eye out for all these symptoms in the child. Other behavioral changes can be inattentiveness while studying, while playing. Focus नहीं बन पा रहा है बच्चे का. Academic downfall, the grades are falling. Now the grades might be falling because उसको मस्ती आई है, बहुत टाइम से स्कूल नहीं गया, बट अभी 6 महीने 7 महीने निकल गए हैं, तो the grades should come back to normal, right? So why are they not coming back to normal? You should focus on that. Loss of interest. There is no interest in studying, no interest in playing, no interest in doing activities जो उसको बहुत पसंद थी पहले. Struggling to conduct simple activities like bathing, washing, picking up your utensils or brushing your teeth, wearing your clothes. He's struggling to do that now because the mind is not clear. Physically weak or self-harm. Now children who are above the age of 10 or 12 might also do some self-harm. So if parents are, attentive enough, they can observe the child's behavior, and they can see some physically weak symptoms. Maybe if the child is older, the father can check for the boy's body parts, and mothers can check the girl's body if there are any cuts or bruises on the body. So that will indicate whether the child is going low every day. Or sometimes it is also the beginning, the onset of depression. So keep an eye out for all these symptoms. Another thing you need to focus on is the cognitive functioning. There might be changes in the mental functionings of the child. So memory deterioration might happen, that the child is not being able to memorize things क्योंकि उसका ध्यान नहीं बन पा रहा है, attention नहीं बन पा रही है. Academic downfall हो सकता है, grades गिर रहे हैं, no new learning of vocabulary because he is not showing any interest in anything. He is not interacting with the parents. So because the mood is bad throughout the day, there is no interaction and therefore no new learning. So no communication also. Decrease in learning speed. Again, there is no new learning happening. inability to solve complex problems. So puzzles, any books, book reading, any sudokus, anything for that matter. There is no learning of these new complex problems. And decision making is affected. If a mother is or the father say कि मेरे लिए एक गिलास पानी ले आओ और साथ में एक चम्मच भी लेके आना, तो बच्चा एक काम कर रहा है, या अगर उसे कोई काम टास्क करने को कहा जाता है तो उसकी जजमेंट नहीं हो पाती है कि मुझे कितनी स्पीड में करना है, मुझे क्या करना है. That also gets very disturbed. So if I as a parent am not able to understand the negative impact in my children and पीछे जो मैंने symptoms आपको बताए वो मुझे नहीं दिखे अपने बच्चे में, तो वो ignore होते they might become long-term psychological issues. And in this, there are two commonly seen disorders that happen in children. There are many more disorders that might happen because of the stress, but two very commonly seen disorders are anxiety and depression. Again, मैं यहाँ पे बोलना चाहती हूँ, ये बहुत ही commonly seen symptoms है, but when you diagnose a disorder, there are many more symptoms. There is a lot of deep assessment that goes on in it, but this is just for your information that usually in when anxiety happens in children, the outward signs indicate that there is trouble in sleeping, you know, nightmares होते हैं, bedwetting होता है, or they complain about physical pain such as stomach aches or physical problems that might be mentally connected, right? They may become avoidant or clingy around parents or caregivers. So like I said, they might become more socially withdrawn or they might be more clingy. They might also have trouble focusing, no attention. They might be very fidgety. They may have explosive outbursts that make people think they are oppositional when their flight or fight mechanism is triggered. So every time I face a difficult situation or somebody wants to talk to me or I don't like that situation, I will react in a very rude manner. I will have explosive outbursts. Like I said, there will be emotional outbursts because I don't want to deal with these people. They are giving me anxiety. And this has happened because of the COVID-19 lockdown. The impact is so severe. Or there might be psychosomatic symptoms like pain in the body because of the mental stress. Then the second disorder that commonly happens is depression in children. We usually call it sadness because depression हम तब बोलते हैं जब वो proper diagnosis हो जाता है. But for children we usually use the word sadness. And if this sadness is persistent, that is, if it continues over the period of 2 weeks, then it might be that maybe it's time that you get your child diagnosed, and it might be that आपका बच्चा depression की तरफ बढ़ रहा है. He is moving towards depression. Okay, so this in depression usually the child shows fluctuations in the mood, mostly negative. There is sadness. Then it interferes with the normal social activities. The child is not studying, not playing, not eating, not sleeping properly. Everything is disturbed in the school work, in the family work, and this might, you know, indicate that she has a depressive illness. So the primary symptoms, like I said, are the feeling of hopelessness and a lot of mood changes and sadness. And for children who are above the age of 8, 10 or 12, it might also lead to drug or alcohol abuse and self-harm also. So I constantly keep talking about self-harm because when self-harm sets in, nobody gets to know. बट जब वो suicidal बनता है तब उसको कहते हैं कि अच्छा इसने suicide attempt किया, इसको डिप्रेशन हो सकता है. बट कभी कभी पेरेंट्स को नजर रखनी चाहिए कि बच्चा अगर सेल्फ हार्म कर रहा है, अपने आप को दिक्कत दे रहा है, इट मीन्स कि वो डिप्रेसिव इलनेस की ओर जा सकता है. देयर इज अ पॉसिबिलिटी. Now here there are some more symptoms and I've talked about all these symptoms, but like I said, when we talk about a disorder, we club different kinds of symptoms together, and here I have mentioned all of them. When you get the PPT, you will be able to read them properly. Which brings me to the last part of my presentation. I think I'll take 7-8 minutes more. I know I've exceeded my time. So नाउ पीपल विल से कि मैम ने बता दिया कि इम्पैक्ट क्या होता है, डिजास्टर सिचुएशन में बच्चों को क्या असर पड़ सकता है, व्हाट आर द नेगेटिव इफेक्ट्स. नाउ व्हाट कैन वी एज पेरेंट्स डू? नाउ आई एज अ पेरेंट डोंट वांट टू टेक माय चाइल्ड टू अ साइकोलॉजिस्ट बिकॉज आई नो दैट ये एक बहुत ही माइल्ड सिम्टम है, बहुत ही माइल्डली नेगेटिव सिम्टम है. So you want to do something at home that can relieve the stress of your child, right? So here I am going to talk about some ways in which you can avoid these negative effects. It's not necessary that these negative effects have set in only then you can do this with your children, but to avoid these negative symptoms also you can do these things. And these are some things that I have observed, used, and collected through day-to-day my day-to-day sessions with people. I have learned about these these factors. Okay, just 1 second.
Google pasti keren kan?
Okay, sorry. So actually there is another session going on, so I had to just so yeah. How can we avoid these negative effects? And the first way in which you can do it is by being aware of your child's emotional and physical needs, by giving them appropriate amount of attention and spend quality time with them. I have clubbed the 3 points here because सम पेरेंट्स से मैं तो जी अपने घर में 24 घंटे रहती हूँ, मेरे बच्चा मेरे 24 घंटे मेरे सामने रहता है, मेरे को पता है उसको क्या चाहिए, लेकिन फिर भी वो मुझसे कुछ शेयर नहीं करता. सो डू यू रियली थिंक दैट स्पेंडिंग just being there around 24/7 is enough to give attention to your child? I don't think it is that easy to understand your child जब तक आप उनके साथ deeply connected ना feel हो. And the way in which you can feel more deeply connected, act more concerned about your child is by spending some quality time. So just even having the 3 meals of the day together, sitting and watching a comedy show and having a cup of tea where you are not only sitting quiet, not necessarily that parents say कि चलो मुझे बताओ पूरा दिन में आज क्या हुआ, but just having to go on a stroll in the park and discussing about general things in life, or just being quiet for that matter. So what this does is that whenever your child will feel stressed or low, he will know that my parents are there for me. If you give them appropriate amount of attention, they will know कि कल को मुझे कोई भी problem होती है, I can go to my parents and they will come up to you first thing in the, not to their friends, not to their teachers, but to you. And they will know that my parents will love me no matter what, and they will help me to relieve this stress. So give that attention to them, give them that quality time, and that emotional and physical attention. The second thing you can do is by making interactions intellectual, by educating them about the current scenarios and updating them regularly. I have seen parents talk about COVID-19 to their fellow adults, but they never discuss it with their children. So imagine yourself in a situation where your family members are sitting together and they are discussing about something, पर आपको नहीं बता रहे हैं, तो आपको स्ट्रेस नहीं होगा उस चीज के बारे में. आपको ये भी बोल रहे हैं कि स्कूल नहीं जाना, ये भी बोल रहे हैं कि घर पे रह के पढ़ाई करनी है. मुझे नहीं करनी घर पे रह के पढ़ाई, मुझे क्यों बाहर साइकिल चलाने नहीं जाने देना? Why am I not allowed to go outside in the park and play? Why am I not allowed to meet my friends? मुझे मास्क क्यों पहनना है? Tell your children about it. Educate them. Give them the. So this again, मैं education की जब बात करती हूँ ना, it is in every sector. You can take example of sex education. If you are educating your child in these particular areas, the child will not feel the need to go out and gain exposure, या फिर वो ये नहीं सोचेंगे कि मुझे अब किसी दोस्त से इस बारे में पूछना है, अगर आप उनको अप्रोप्रिएट अमाउंट पे अप्रोप्रिएट टाइम पे एजुकेट करते हैं तो वो उस चीज को बेटर समझेंगे एंड it's as parents you know best when to educate your child.
Sorry for disturbing, madam. Can you wind up if you don't mind?
Yeah, sir. Just 5 minutes, sir. Is that fine?
Yeah, that's please.
So provide them with adequate affection. Again, it's like a child is like a flower. If you are, it's like a seed. अगर आप उसको सही अमाउंट ऑफ पानी देंगे, सनलाइट देंगे, अप्रोप्रिएट अमाउंट ऑफ अटेंशन देंगे तो वो ग्रो करेगा. लेकिन आप उसको ओवर अटेंशन दोगे, ज्यादा पानी डालोगे तो पौधा मर जाएगा. अगर उसे कम पानी डालोगे या कम सनलाइट दोगे तो भी वो मर जाएगा. So it is important to give them adequate affection, expose them to the outside world, make them read books, encyclopedias, educate them about the world, read newspapers, do some activities, exposure activities. अब तो आप parks भी जा सकते हैं. So just be safe and take them outside to visit parks so that they can spend some time outside. Maintain a family balanced environment. Like I mentioned in my very first few slides that अगर घर में लड़ाई होगी तो उसका सबसे ज़्यादा असर बच्चे पे पड़ेगा. That's why keep that family environment balanced so that the child feels less stressed. Keep the friends connected. Have the child talk to his or her friends. जैसे हमें अपने relatives और friends से बात करने से आराम मिलता है, वैसे ही बच्चों को भी मिलता है. So once a week, have them call their friends. They'll feel very happy about it. Limit passive activities such as screen time by increasing outdoor and physical activities and maintain a timetable. So the more you spend time with them outside, उनको छत पे लेके जाइए, उनके साथ physical activity कीजिए, maybe do some cycling और maintain a timetable जहाँ पे जैसे ही उनकी online classes खत्म होती हैं वैसे ही उन लोगों को अपनी बाकी की एक्टिविटीज करने का में लगा दीजिए so that the child does not go to the screen again. So these are some activities. You can teach them cooking, daily chores, do some extracurricular activities, do some indoor games. Just go on the internet and there will be hundreds of options, infinite options. Just make that timetable so that unki kam se kam screen time ho. Then complex cognitive activities also, such as doing adult puzzles, doing adult coloring books. So these kinds of books are very, intricate and they help in developing that attention or concentration. So you can go on Amazon and you can buy those books because they are very small designs in which you have to fill in very tiny spaces, and that helps in developing your attention. Work on their reading skills to increase vocabulary and develop language. You as parents know how important it is to have a good vocabulary. For me, I did not have a very good vocabulary, but the time that I developed an interest in reading books helped me a lot to develop that good vocabulary in English. I'm not saying that I'm perfect, but I improved a lot. So as parents, teach your children to learn how to read books and do it with your child. अगर आप फोन पे बैठेंगे और अपने साइड में बच्चे को बोलेंगे बुक पढ़ तो वो नहीं पढ़ेगा, लेकिन अगर आप न्यूज़पेपर बैठेंगे पढ़ने और आप दिन का वो 1 या 2 घंटा निकालेंगे तो the child will follow you, which brings me to my next point that you should control inappropriate behavior and be good models. So like in this photo you can see this man is very angry because maybe सामने वाली red light से green light हो गई है but गाड़ी नहीं चल रही है. He's honking the car. He knows he has a reason to be aggressive. But the children at the back are also acting aggressive. Even though they don't have a reason, they are small kids, they don't know. So they are just copying what their father is doing and just modeling what the father is doing. So therefore, right now they don't know what they're doing. But with time, they will learn this behavior and it will become a part of their personality, which means they will become aggressive adults when they grow up. Therefore, it is important that you learn to be good models, and then you should celebrate every festival because that releases a lot of stress. Family is important. Inculcate those values in your children, that values are important, and you know, ethics are very important. Family comes first. Finally, be mindful. Whatever you are doing, whatever your child is doing, tell them to give their 100%. Because the more focused you are in doing your tasks, the more you will enjoy. So if there is a negative emotion, if there is a positive emotion, whatever the child is feeling, they will be able to, they will be able to express it better in case there is a stressful situation. So with that, I finish my presentation. Over to you, sir.
Thank you, madam. And before we have a couple of questions from the chat box. Can I read it for you, ma'am?
Yeah, sir, sure.
Yeah, the first one from Dr. Arun Kumar Mandal, and he's asking about how eustress is different than distress.
How eustress is different from?
Distress.
Okay. So it's a very good question actually. There is a very thin line, sir. It is possible that distress and eustress can occur together. Eustress, like I mentioned, happens when we are about to perform, when we are expected to perform. But distress can also happen during that time. The only thing is, eustress is called good stress because it is motivating us to do better. लेकिन जब हमें यूस्ट्रेस भी होता है, परफॉर्मेंस करने जाते हैं, तो वो भी तो एक नेगेटिव इमोशन होता है ना. Nobody likes to sweat, nobody likes to feel tensed about the situation. So eustress and distress happen together, but a person who is able to overcome that distress and perform well can change it into eustress. So I hope I was able to summarize it in a very short manner.
Yeah. And the second question from Ruby, and the question is, what are the ways schools in rural areas can reach out or enroll back students to have been a dropout due to prolonged COVID-19 lockdown,
As many of
including
my
the migrant families uh, may have already displaced their location. The question is about, I think it's, once we sum up, how do we back student from home to school after COVID-19, including the migrant families?
Okay, so Ruby, I think to be very honest, I am not quite aware of how the government policies work in rural situations, because I work in, like, it's very obvious, I work in an urban area and I work with people, girls living in Delhi, the population of Delhi. So I'm slightly less aware. But sir, maybe when Balu sir is done with his presentation, he will be able to take this question much deeply, because he has that kind of exposure. So maybe we can ask this question to him.
All right. Thank you, ma'am. And ma'am, actually, you are talking about domestic violence. So I have a small concern
Yes, sir.
about the children. You know, we call as a silent victims of domestic violence. So what kind of intervention we can make among the stakeholders of education to address domestic violence as a social issue rather than a personal problem?
Okay, wonderful question. So, I have worked with children in schools and have had cases where, even in NGOs, where children come up to me and tell me that I am facing domestic violence by my father or my mother. Now, what can a child do? He cannot run away from home. He is not somebody who is capable of taking care of himself. So, here, as a counselor, I reach out to the class teacher first of all, and we first, reach out to the through the teacher we reach out to the parents, and it is important to counsel them. So the first step needs to start from here. Despite the counseling, if there is no change in the behavior of the parents, we then reach out to somebody in the family on whom we can trust. Sometimes we need to take the help of the law, and we need to scare the parents in a way where they behave themselves. We then also educate the child about the childline helpline policy. So in Delhi, as far as I know, there is a helpline for children that is called 1098, 1098, which is available for toll free, and it is a 24/7 helpline which is free. So a child who is in distress, who is going through domestic violence or any kind of sexual abuse or any thing for that matter, they are educated about this helpline. They are also told about the emergency number, that is 100. Nowadays in Delhi, at least as far as I know, people, we have helplines, and even 100, on 100 the calls are recorded. So the police has to take action immediately. They cannot ignore the call. Therefore, the child must be educated in such a manner, and also teach them about having a safety net. So what a safety net is basically somebody in your family. So the first person in the center of the net is your parents. Now, if you are having issues with your parents, you move out and you find a family member or a relative on whom you can trust. So whenever there is a difficult situation, you go to them. Then as the net grows out, then you can talk to your teachers or the counselor of the school. Finally, you go out to your friends or the law or the, or the police. So this safety net needs to be taught to children, so that in case they feel in a difficult, they feel that they are distressed or in a difficult situation, they can reach out to people. So
Thank you, ma'am. Actually, we have more questions from participants, but due to this time constraint, we cannot address all.
We can take it at the end of the session.
Yeah, sure. So thank you so much, ma'am. You have discussed about very important points of mental health issues in children, and you talk about developmental different periods in children, from neurons to nightmares, and you discuss about the type of stress management and how do you ventilate the stress before it becomes more harmful. And more important, you explain about different type of domestic violence. Another silent pandemic occurs mostly in home environment and its impacts and how to address this issue. Thank you for being with us, madam, and it is nice to interact with you. Thank you so much. Stay safe. And now may I request Mr. Sushant Kumar Naik to introduce the second speaker. Over to you, sir. Can you unmute your mic, sir? Don't mind. Yeah.
Hello.
Yes, sir. It's audible now.
Am I audible?
Yes, it's audible.
Yes. Okay. Let me introduce the second session speaker for today's session, Dr. Balu I. No need to actually introduce sir because he has already taken 2 sessions yesterday, but formally we need to introduce him. And Dr. Balu is a PhD scholar from in sociology, basically from Madurai Kamraj University, and he is also an active member and who is working in CCDRR under National Institute of Disaster Management, New Delhi. And Dr. Balu has vast experience of more than 10 years in teaching and research also. He has already published 25 articles and 2 books in reputed national and international journals. And he has also coordinated various programs under NIDM. And I am happy to introduce him because he is also an active coordinator of this program too. Now I may request Dr. Balu to hand over the session. Dr. Balu, sir.
Yeah, thank you, Dr. Sushant Parikh. Happy to see you once again. I'm not able to share my screen. It shows attendees screen sharing is disabled. Can you enable me to
Nishan sir, please
share my screen?
I'm doing that now.
Yeah, thank you. Very good afternoon to all the participants. Yesterday we had 2 sessions, right? And today morning you all had a very good session on mental health issues of children. And I hope all of you enjoyed with this Ms. Namrata ma'am session. And now we are going to discuss about what is actually a child-centric disaster risk reduction. Basically, in this session, we will be discussing what is child-centric disaster risk reduction and why we need to involve children in disaster risk reduction, what is the definition, and what are the various activities to involve children in disaster risk reductions, right? That's what we are going to discuss now. Just let me share my screen. Yeah, Dr. Sudan, is my PPT is visible?
Yes, sir. Your screen is visible. I think.
Can anyone tell me?
Yeah, the PPT is opening now.
PPT, introduction. Yeah, thank you so much. So as we discussed, we are going to see now what is actually a child-centric disaster risk reduction, right? See now, yeah.
Balu sir, your PPT is not open yet, but the screen is visible.
My PPT is not visible.
No, PPT is not yet opened, but the screen is visible.
Okay, once again, I'll try then. Is my PPT is visible now?
So
Can
it's
you tell me in relation to?
it's not open yet, but you already shared your screen. We can see the screen, but the PPT is not yet open.
So due to some internet connectivity, I'll try to share my PPT. Okay.
Okay, sir. You can try it again if you don't mind.
Yeah. Sorry. Dr. Sushant Parikh, is my PowerPoint is visible?
No, sir, your screen is visible, but the PowerPoint, I think, yet to open.
Oh, sorry for the delay. I'll just.
It's okay, sir.
Why.
You can open your PowerPoint and make it minimize. Then after sharing, you can open it.
अभी आपका क्लास लग क्या प्रभा अभी आपका क्लास लग क्या है I'm sorry for the delay. I have a little bit technical problem. Just I'm trying to share it. Just give a couple of minutes. I will finish it.
Oh, yes, sir. Now it's visible.
Can anyone confirm me? Thank you so much. I'm sorry for the delay.
It's okay, sir.
So as we all aware that if any disaster occurs, it's directly impacting on the life of the children. Just I would like to right? Sorry, am I audible?
Yes, sir. You're audible and your PowerPoint is visible. You can
Am
go
I
ahead.
audible and my PPT is visible or not? Can anyone confirm me?
Yes, sir. You're audible and the PPT is also
Is there
visible.
any problem? Thank you. Some example during 2001 to 2000. Thank you. So just I'll give a little bit background about how the children were being affected. I'm so very sorry. I think I'm having very poor network. So my connection is disrupted frequently. So I'm going to just stop my video. I'll be available through only audio only. And even if my PowerPoint is not available, don't worry, I'll continuously speak with you. Okay. Am I audible, sir?
Yes, sir. You're audible. Please go ahead, sir.
Thank you. Thank you. So during these droughts, what happened? The researchers found that almost more than 36% of the children were being affected by child stunting, and similarly, more than one-fourth of the children were being affected by child wasting. Right, and in future session, you will be discussing about what is actually child stunting and child wasting. Why I am sharing this is actually. If take any disaster, it is directly affecting the children, okay, especially their physical health and mental health, even their education, right? So many times the children were being affected by disaster directly and indirectly. That's what we need to understand. And even if you refer with COVID-19 situation also, the children were being affected. The children were also being infected, and the children were not able to go to their school, so their education is being disrupted, and mental health is also affected for the children because of this COVID-19 and lockdown, right? So in this situation, it's our responsibility. We need to groom our children towards coping up with the disaster risk reduction activities. But if you see the practical things in our country, most of the time we are not involving our children in the disaster risk management activities, okay? And the children voices are also not heard, especially when we are making certain plan. like disaster risk management plan, or even in this COVID-19 time also we are planning to reopen the school, but we were not hearing the voices of the children. So many times we are not involving children in the disaster risk reduction activities. And if you see, many times after the disaster also, the children were being harmed further after the disaster and during disaster also. See, in one of the southern state of our country, during this due to lockdown, one of the tea shop owner, he was not able to reopen his shop, so he lost his income and he was uh, fighting for his survival. So he decided to do a farming in his own land, but even for blowing a land he was not having enough money. So what he has done is, instead of using a pull, he has used two of his girl children for just blowing a land. Can you imagine how instead of a pool, a girl children can be used for blowing a land? So many times this is what happening after the disaster. Even the children were also being kidnapped and child marriages, and the children were also forced to disasters being directly affect the children, and indirectly also after disaster the children were being affected. But we are not involving children in the disaster risk reduction activities, and the children voices were also not heard properly. Okay, so now let's see why we need to involve children in DRR activities. As per United Nations Convention on Rights of the Children, okay, as per United Nations Convention on Rights of the children have right to participation. The children have a right to participation in any activities. That's what we need to understand. And apart from that, the children are also able to convey the messages with meaningfully and effectively. See, after coming back from the school, the children used to share whole day what happened in their school. Sometimes they used to tell everything to their mom. And my friend has well down, he has beaten me, and my pencil has been missed, my teacher has beaten me, I didn't complete my homework, I didn't listen to the blah blah blah. They used to tell each and everything. Sometimes the mom used to say, "Arey baba, bas mere paas zyada kaam hai, aapka chhod do, please go and do your homework." Right? That's what people even used to say. So why I am saying this here is, the children can able to convey the messages with effectively and meaningfully. Okay, and further, the children are also more willing to learn and adapt and develop a culture of adaptation. See, now we are almost running our life with the smartphones, right? The elder people, if they were not aware of how to use some applications, or if they were not aware of using the smartphones, they used to ask our grandchildren only, they used to ask the children only. So the children were capable of adapting with any technology and any kind of situation. Just I was remembering almost 8 years back, even I was not much using this Wi-Fi, and one of the seventh standard boy who was saying that he could able to crack the password of neighborhood Wi-Fi password of neighborhood, and he can connect the Wi-Fi. See how the children were very much skillful and they can adapt with the technology. And the children also have a capacity of and skill of creativity, right? I had a chance to visit many schools in our country. At that time I've seen there was no toilet facility in many schools. So what happened in one of the schools, there was no toilet facility at all in the government school. So the children themselves, by using the local resources, bamboo sticks and this what to say bamboo sticks and like this mud pot, by using these both locally available resources, they have constructed with their own toilet facility. See, it's all some of the creativity being done by the children. And similarly in Assam, you all know that every year they are facing 3 waves of flood, and every year a boy was observing his house was vanished in the flood. So he was just thinking, then after that he started making his own house on the top of the tree. And during the flood, they used to live in that house only. See, such kind of new and creativity were also being done by the children. And similarly, I have observed one of the creativity among the children that I think you may had about seed balls by using the tank and soil. The children used to make a balls. And finally, they insert some of the seeds, name trees, name seeds, and various seeds they used to insert. For the rainy season, they used to throw in the open land and the forest area. When evening, the plants come out from the seed balls. So these are all certain creativity which is being done by the children related to the climate change adaptation and risk action. And the children were also able to participate beyond a disaster preparedness role. One is they can also be prepared to reduce the risk, and apart from that, they were also being participated in various activities, like they have been donated their own savings to the people, and they have been given their own bicycle and toys to the affected children. Right. We need to involve children in disaster risk reduction activities. Why? The children have a right to participation, and the children have a skill of conveying messages, and they can able to adapt themselves with any situation, and they have skill of creativity. They also can then participate, also can beyond the preparedness role. So it is very essential to involve in their activities. And disaster risk reduction. Now let's discuss what is actually a CCDR. Before I say what is CCDR, I would like to listen from some of the participants. Can anyone tell me what do you mean by CCDR, child-centric disaster risk reduction? I'm sorry, once again, I'm sharing the screen.
Participants, you can unmute your mic and you can interact with Balu sir.
Yeah, if anybody want to answer or speak, you can tell me. As per your understanding, what do you mean by child-centric disaster risk reduction? It is asking a blind person to explain how an elephant looks like, because this is a new concept. Many people you may not aware, but even since just I would like to listen from you if you have any idea. Anybody? Okay, fine. So let me explain what is a child-centered disaster risk reduction means. Okay, here the child-centered disaster risk reduction is we need to consider 3 points. One is focusing on specific risk by children. Understand. Focus on specific faced by the children. For example, the children have some certain specific risk, like when you are crossing the road, you may see both sides, and after that you will used to cross the road, the elder people or adults. But the children are not like that. Without seeing anything, just immediately they used to cross the road without seeing the vehicles passage, whether it's the right time to cross the road or not. So when they cross, they used to get accident. And similarly, uh, similarly,
Participants, please bear with us. I think Balu sir is having some connectivity issues.
I'm extremely sorry. There is some fluctuation in my internet connection. That's why my voice is disrupting, I think. I'm so sorry, but I'll try to manage. This is specific risk. I have given two examples. Children are having some certain specific risk, and even at the time of disasters, also you see the children, they may not able to get a milk, and the children be uh, and the adults and girls, they may not able to get the sanitation napkin. And after disaster, many times the families were losing their livelihood, the children may be dropped from the school, and many times forced to be a child labor. So these are all certain specific risks faced by the children at the time of disaster, which we need to identify and resolve those specific risks. Okay. And the second aspect is child-centric disaster risk reduction, means it's involving children in DRR activities, involving children in DRR activities. Okay, here I would like to ask a question with the participant. Can anyone tell me who is child? Any participant, can you tell me who is child? Anybody? Would you like to respond? Any participants?
Hello.
Yes, ma'am. Please introduce yourself and tell me.
Sharma, and consider those who are below age group of below 12 years, because from 13 to 18 we are doing menstruations, and those age groups below 12, that is a child.
Okay, you
Am I audible, sir?
now it's clear. Can you repeat me? Earlier it was breaking. Your voice was breaking. Are you all? Yeah, please. Can
Yeah.
are you also?
Those age groups which are. Hello.
I'm sorry. Still, I don't know whether it's a problem of my network or your network. I'm not sure. Your voice is not clear.
And Balu sir, there are some responses from in the chat box also.
Yeah, that's also fine. They can type in the chat box. I will also try to check it. So can anyone? So can you read? I couldn't see that.
Yes, sir. I can read out. You know, this. There are many what do you call response, like below 18 years, and
Okay.
those who are learning, they are child. Child
Okay.
is 1 year to 12 years, age between 1 to 18, age between 0 to 12 years, below 12 years, 0 to 6 years, 0 to 12 years, 1 to 18. There are many responses.
Okay, thank you. Anyhow, this is the problem with us, and we are having a different definition in our country for a children. Okay, for example, as you all said, as per Child Labor Act, it is below 14 years, they all are called children, right? And similarly, if you take a Hindu Marriage Act, it varies for boys and girls. There is a different age. For a boys, it's 18. For a girls, it's 21, right? So, and similarly, if you take a Mine Labor Act, below 18, they all are called children. So similarly, there is a different definition in our place. But here what we are referring is, as per United Nations Convention on Rights of the Children, um, the children between 0 to, or the prenatal stage, from prenatal to below 18 years old, they all are called children. Prenatal means when a woman get conceived, or when a woman get pregnant in the womb or the uterus stage itself. So from prenatal to below 18 years old, they all are called children. So here, involving children in disaster risk reduction, it's also a child-centric disaster risk reduction. How we can involve, if you see, for example,
Right, Joyce.
More of us, we need more space now. Jesus' mother also can join here.
Participants, it's a special request. Please mute your mic if you don't mind.
yeah, thank you, sir.
I'm sorry, sir. Yeah, please go.
Yeah, it's fine. So involving children in disaster risk reduction efforts is also a child-centered disaster risk reduction. Let me give some example. During COVID-19, the children were being involved for in many aspects. For example, some of the children were joined their hands with the local village panchayats, and they have been involved in sanitizing the public places, the adolescents. Okay, and similarly, some children, they were involved in what to say, they were involved in making homemade reusable masks, and they have distributed. And some children were being used, some children were involved in creating awareness of and washing their hands. Okay, so like this, in various disaster risk reduction activities, we can involve children in DRR efforts. So involving children in disaster risk reduction efforts is also called a child-centered disaster risk reduction. And the third aspect is child-centric DRR is disaster risk reduction for the children and with the children. It's like a democracy, for the people, by the people, and of the people. So activities which we are doing, it is for the children and with the children. Themselves washing their hands. It is for their they are washing their. So it's a child-centric disaster. If the children wear a mask, the children, they are even swimming. It's all for their disaster risk reduction, and they are doing themselves. Okay? So overall, child-centric disaster risk reduction means it's focusing on specific risk. So once again, I'm sorry. Tomorrow I'll just make some alternative arrangement because of this poor network connection, and my I'm frequently out of the platform. My internet is being disrupted frequently. I'm extremely sorry for the inconvenience. So overall, this child-centric disaster risk reduction is focusing on specific risk faced by the children and addressing that, and involving children in disaster risk reduction efforts, and the child-centric disaster risk reduction for the children and with the children. Okay, now let us see the definition of child-centric disaster risk reduction. Okay, children and adolescents must not be perceived as merely victims, but as an effective actors. So from the beginning, I was also saying that the children were being directly affected and indirectly affected. They are victims. So we should not merely perceive the children as only victim. Okay, they are also an effective actors. Of course, the children are being victims. The children are victims. Even during COVID-19 also, they are being infected, right? And if you take any earthquake or cyclone, many times the children were being affected. They may even lost their life. They got an injury, and even they lost their educational materials, and there was a dropout and child labor. So the children are being victim, but at the same time, they also an effective actor. As I said previously, the children were being involved in various activities during this COVID-19, especially for creating awareness on washing their hands. And at the time of COVID-19, what happened? One of the boy from Kerala who wrote a letter to the President of India and saying that his village was being affected by lockdown, and the same time due to the soil erosion, sand erosion in the seashore area, the houses were being damaged. And after he wrote a letter to the President of India, and the government, the district administration has started giving focus to that village and resolving the problem. So one side, the children were also being a victim, and they also a effective actor. They are being actively working on it. Okay. And second, by taking into their account, taking their level of physical, social, and emotional development and their capacities and opinions, we need to promote a space for and mechanism for their full participation in the disaster risk reduction activities. See, we can divide a life of a child into 5 different phases. For example, prenatal. It's the pregnancy. 9 months of pregnancy is called prenatal. Okay, and 0 to 2 years old called infant. Okay, and 3 to 5 years old called early childhood. And similarly, 6 to 12 years childhood, and 13 to 18 years adolescence. Okay, like this, we can divide the life cycle of a child into 5 different phases. Okay, and similarly, if you see the emotional, physical development and their capacities, it varies in this life cycle of a child. For example, 0 to 2 years old children, completely they are depending on their mother for their survival. Okay, and 3 to 5 years old early childhood children, they are little bit started independent. They just started wearing their dresses and started eating their food, so their capacity is different. Okay, and similarly, if you see this 6 to 12 years old children, and they, if we are training them properly, they can be effectively involved in communicating the messages, and they can be effectively involved in even first aid techniques. Okay, and similarly, this 13 to 18 years old children, if you are training them properly, they can be also involved in first aid, and they also can be involved in rescue and evacuation and setting up the communications, right? And during this Kerala flood, these adolescents, they have played a crucial role in passing the message between the NDRF team who came for rescue and the people who are struck in their house. So what happened during this Kerala flash flood? The NDRF team went to rescue the people, but they were from the various states. They were not aware of the local language. They were not aware of the local language. So when the people are calling them, they're informing, they were not able to track the location exactly because of the language barrier. So these adolescents, they have played a key role. They were listened to the local people, and they have passed the communication through Hindi and English to the NDRF team, and they had went and rescued that team. Okay, so here the, by assessing the level of physical, social, and emotional development and their capacity of children, we need to promote certain spaces and mechanism for the full participation of children in the disaster risk reduction activities. Okay, so overall, if you see the definition of child-centered disaster risk reduction, uh, children should not be merely perceived as a victim, and they also are effective actors. Okay, and we need to promote their space and mechanism for their active participation of children, considering their capacity and their opinion. Okay, so now let's see what is the goal of child-centric disaster risk reduction. It is strengthening the accountability mechanism between right holder and duty bearer. Okay, so here, who are all right holder? Children and parent, the pregnant women, and in case of absence of parents, the guardian also a right holder. Okay, so if you see, we have a right holder: children, parent, and the guardian, departments, non-governmental agencies, and international humanitarian organization, state government, central government, local government, all the civil society, international community. They all, who all are working for the welfare of the children, are duty bearer. Okay, so here the goal of CCDRR is strengthening the accountability mechanism between right holder and duty bearer. So one side, among the right holder, we need to create awareness about their rights, so that even at the time of disaster, they can claim their rights, they can ask for their rights. Okay, and the same among the duty bearer, we need to create awareness and we need to make them to realize their roles and responsibilities so that they can protect and fulfill the rights of the children at the time of disaster. So overall, the goal of child-centered disaster risk reduction is to safeguard the children's rights in relation to disaster risk management and climate change adaptation. Okay. So let's see what are the benefits of child-centered disaster risk reduction. It offers an enabling environment for children to be actively involved in the CCDRR. So when we are involving children, we are also enabling our children in the field of DRR activities. And when the children were being learned about DRR activities, it is also helpful for their future to cope up with the disaster risk management at the time of disasters. And it also provides an opportunity to effectively utilize their attitude, skill, and knowledge. For example, suppose you are asked to prepare a school safety plan, a school disaster management plan. Okay, so you can use the attitude, skill, and knowledge of the students. For example, you need to at the time of school safety plan, you need to draw a evacuation map. Okay, and when you are doing evacuation map, the students, they know much better than the teachers. Where are the emergency exits in the school? What are the evacuation routes? And how, because many times they used to escape among the classes without the knowledge of teachers. So this knowledge also can be used to make a school disaster management plan or school safety plan. And similarly, to draw a map, now you all aware that many children, they have a skill of drawing. So the students drawing skill also can be effectively used in the field of disaster management. And the attitude, and you, the teachers may think that all the students are strong and they are capable, but the students only knows among their colleagues who are all weakest and who are all vulnerable, who need a support in case of any earthquake or a cyclone time, and they can help, they can evacuate their colleagues who are all weaker, who are all vulnerable. Okay, so this CCDRR also gives an opportunity to use the children's attitude, skill, and knowledge. It also allows them to raise their voice to protect their basic rights. So when we create awareness about this, their rights, the children can ask for their rights at the time of disaster. And moreover, the children also can be play a critical role and effective role in the participation in community development work, like serving food at the time of disaster, providing a drinking water to the needy person, and tree plantation. Like the children can be involved in the community development work. The CCDRR is a valuable approach which we need to understand. So the organization or department which is working on other field also can do a CCDRR activities, and there is no need of much resources. So the organization who is having a limited resources or without any resources also can work for risk reduction of the children. And in case if you, for example, if an organization is working in the field of with the women and or women self-help group, by just creating awareness on child rights, you also can maximize the impact. Just by doing a small intervention can reduce the vulnerability and you can maximize the impact by a small intervention. Okay, and the children also have a unique and holistic perception about the risk. For example, suppose 100 people are sitting in a hall, and if suddenly a snake enters, what happens? People used to get panic and they all ran away here and there. Okay, but the same if a 2 years old kid saw a snake, they try to catch it, right? Isn't it? So the children have unique and holistic perception about the risk, and the children also have a regularly identified and immediate risk. For example, like say, In many government schools, there is no water facility at all, water tap facility at all. So what happens that after having their lunch within short time, they used to walk to the nearest water bodies or a water tank or river, and they used to get wash their plates. So many times the children were fell down and they lost their life. And in many schools there is only one or two water taps, and within that half an hour or 40 minutes of time, the children should take their food and they should wash their plates. So what happens at the time when they try to wash their plates, they used to cut their fingers and bleeding. Physically, I have seen many children. What happens if you see the lunch boxes and plates which is being carried by the children? It is sharp like a knife. When they try to wash their hands in only one available tap, many times they used to cut their fingers. So these are all certain identified, regularly identified risk faced by the children which we need to address. Okay, so now I would like to interact with few participants. Can anyone tell me who is this girl? There are two girl children here. Okay, and there is a white girl, right? So can anyone tell me who is she? And if you know any information about her, please tell me. Anybody?
Greta Thunberg. Greta.
Yes, thank you. Any other information?
She is working for the safeguarding the environment.
Okay, good. Any other information? Anybody?
Yeah, one is Greta Thunberg on the right, and other girl is from Tamil Nadu. I don't remember the name. Uh, who helps her father in
Yeah.
doing.
No. Yeah, perfect. The right side, the white girl name is Greta Thunberg. She is a Swedish girl, and she has started a campaign called 3F, Friday for Future. So what happened? Every Friday she had a strike on school, and she sit in front of the parliament and she had a protest to protect the children from climate change impact. So later on, she became a climate change activist and has given a speech in UN also. And now she's become a environmental activist or climate change activist, you can say. And after seeing her initiatives, children from various countries were also joined her movement. Okay, this is one example. And second, her name is Natia. She's a 7th standard child. And when she was sitting in the classroom, there was a bad smell came from the nearest pond due to the bushes. She asked her father to. She asked her father to clean that pond, but the father didn't listen her. So what happened? She didn't speak to her father for days. So one are not speaking with me. Told to
Sir, your voice is
again,
cracking, sir.
you're not telling me. I'm unable to concentrate in the class. I'm unable to see. Actually, I'm so extremely sorry. I have network.
Balu sir, if you don't mind, you can stop sharing the screen. You can have a voice, only voice. You can interact.
Sorry, I'll try to make some.
Balu sir, if you
Is my voice is clear now?
Yes,
Can
your
anyone
voice
tell me?
is clear. But once you share your PPT, it consume more data. I think it is better to have only voice, audio. We can.
Yeah. Okay. I'm not sharing. Yeah. Then I will avoid sharing my screen. Okay. So we were discussing about this So we were discussing about this girl from Tamil Nadu. So after the father has realized his mistake, then the father himself alone has cleaned that entire pond. So why I'm sharing these two example is one is that local level example and another one is at international level example, where the children can mobilize for their action, where the children can influence the behavior of others, right? So that's the reason we are telling we need to involve children in disaster risk reduction activities. So now I would like to share a few examples of child-centric disaster risk reduction initiatives done by government of Odisha. So at the time of Cyclone Fani, what happened? The government of Odisha, they have identified more than 2,000 severe underweight, malnourished children and more than 73,000 pregnant women, and they were provided with take-home ration in advance. Okay. See, the nutrition is also one of the important rights of the children, and it is related to right to good health. Okay, so that's the reason at the time of a cyclone, there may be a chance of transport disruption and the road may be disconnected, so they may not able to get the nutritional food. So that's the reason. Is it audible? I'm sorry.
Yes, sir. Yeah, audible.
So during this lockdown, also many state government they have done an initiative of this providing take-home ration in advance. Okay, to the children, and similarly, special care was taken to save the old age people and differently abled and children to the shelter home before a landfall of this cyclone approach. And almost about 2,000 pregnant women were also shifted to the delivery points, because once so to ensure the institutional delivery of women, they have shifted all pregnant women in advance to the delivery points. Okay, so similarly, they have also provided a additional pair of uniform to the students, and they have also given a cycle for the students who have lost their cycles, and they have also waived off the school fees for the children to avoid their dropouts. Okay, so with this, let me conclude my session because of this inconvenience. I'm just winding up my session here. So just to before conclude, I would like to reinforce few points. The child-centric disaster risk reduction means focusing on specific risks faced by the children and resolving it, and involving children in disaster risk reduction activities by considering their level of physical and emotional and social development and their capacities, and disaster risk reduction is for the children and with the children. Okay, so these are the three important points we need to keep it in our mind when we discuss about child-centric disaster risk reduction.
Thank you, Balu sir. If you don't mind, can we go for a couple of questions from participants? Are you able to hear me, sir?
Yes, sir. I'm frequently out of the platform, so it's better to wind up the session now.
Okay.
The inconvenience.
Okay. Thank you, Balu sir, and
Any
Balu sir.
questions?
Yeah, Balu sir, if you don't mind, we can share the PowerPoint to the participants later with your concern. And sir explained about different activities on disaster risk reduction, and he's demonstrated with the different examples on how children become victims as well as active participants during various disasters. And sir is also explained about different benefits of CCDRR and importance of creating awareness to participate in community development. Thank you for being with us, Dr. Balu, and it's very nice to interact with you. Thank you all. Stay safe, sir.
Yeah.
And there is one announcement to the participants. Tomorrow you can join with the same link and with the same time.
Thank you so much. Is there any question?
Thank you, sir. Thank you, Dr. Balu.
To ensure the same participants tomorrow also. Yeah, thank you. Once again, I'm sincerely, I'm conveying my sorry for the inconvenience.
It's okay, sir. We do understand that.
Yeah. Thank you, sir.
Thank you all participants for your patient listening, and we'll meet tomorrow. Okay. Until then, take care. Stay safe. Bye-bye.
Thank you very much, Nishant sir.
You're welcome, sir.
Okay, so we'll meet